Hey, welcome back to Silver Dragon Crafts. We're episode 4 of Let's Build 48 plus down to 4. Well, we'll figure it out. But yeah, it's not quite 48, but with the combination of bases, walls, roofs, you can probably come up with about 48 different ways to build a house. And luckily we're going to get 2 done tonight with the one that we started with. And we're going to start a second one, and hopefully we'll be able to finish both of them. Here we're working on the one that we almost finished last week, or 2 weeks ago. We're going to put some different colored gel in the windows to make it look like the rooms have different lights instead of just one bright white light shining throughout the entire building. This makes it a little bit more realistic. But I'm just using some PVA glue, putting it on the granny grating that was already installed last time. I'm going to put the colored gel and cut it to size first, and then put that right in there. And that way the bottom floor will be yellow, the top floor looked like it was going to be red. Yeah, there you go. And you can see that I went away from the white and gray sweatshirt while staining. But if you look closely, you'll see me put my sleeve right in that little lid over there. So I definitely paid for breaking the rules. Here I'm just putting some extra woodwork in to fill in some of the big blank negative spaces. Give it a little visual interest. And now I'm working on the shutters. The bigger ones are on the front window, and then there's going to be some littler shutters on the small windows on the side. You'll see one of them gives me a little bit of trouble. But that's almost the finished building. But here is where I built a little sign, because this is like a tavern, so now I'm going to work on the door. I'll get back to the sign in a little bit. There, that's I'm showing you the sign, not the door, sorry. But cut them at like a 45 degree angle, 45. And cut those to size and then attach it to the house. This is veneer for like the edging on, or the edge of a table that you would be refinishing. And I cut it into thirds or quarters, and then cut those into tiny little pieces to make the shingles. And they look pretty good once you stain them. It's kind of time and consuming, but it's better than doing something like a sheet or some kind of prefabricated shingles. But in the end, you'll see that this looks really pretty darn good. The magic of movies. That side is done. I'm going to glue the piece of balsa wood on so that I have something to glue the other side of the roof. Glue the shingles to this. Now here I'm with another blue shirt on, trying to stain. We'll see if I can keep this one clean. But this is just the Minwax Early American stain going on the shingles. I hit it from a couple different angles to make sure that there's no light spots. And you can see that it looks a lot better than it did prior to the stain. Alright, here we go to a second building that I created long before this, but I figured we got all these different foundations and different stucco types. I grabbed this out of the back room, blew off the cobwebs, and I started putting the river rock foundation on this one. Might be field stone, might be river rock. Depends on what part of the world you're from, I guess. I changed up the music for this week. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know the notes yet. I'm still working on it. Okay, here's for the roof. I use wood planks, so I'm giving the foam some texture with the wire brush. And that's the tool we talked about before to rough up the edges so they don't look like they're brand new, because weather has worn these beams. I'm going to start gluing those on. I staggered them because they would be staggered in real life. They're not going to be all lined. You don't want the seams lined up anyways, all the water will fall through. But definitely stagger your boards when you're putting your roof on. It'll give it more visual appeal, and it makes more sense when you think about the rain falling too, like I said. Alright, done with this side. Looks good. Alright, now this is where you want to have a nice sharp blade to cut the excess, a sharp blade to cut the excess, a sharp, 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 sharp. Alright, so obviously I didn't have a sharp blade. Don't do what I did. Make sure you have a nice sharp blade on your tool so that you don't have to go back and do this junk that I'm doing here. Alright, Jeremy at Black Magic Craft. If nothing else, this is going to be one of your legacies. I don't want to say it'll be your only legacy, but this PVA glue and acrylic black paint with a little bit of water toughens up the boards and gives it a nice base coat for when we're going to paint it. See, now I'm doing a different one. I'm not going to use the black paint, I'm going to use the khaki paint for the rocks, because I didn't want the quote-unquote grout to be black. I wanted it to be more earthy toned. So I did PVA glue and khaki acrylic paint, and I'm going to do the same thing I did to the roof, but on the Fieldstone River Rock foundation. That way the nooks and crannies will be nice and kind of cement / grout colored. And no, that's not real drinking water. That's water from the tap that I just have in a Dasani bottle. And we're going to paint the woodwork with real brown, khaki, and honeycomb. First an overbrush, and then then a heavy dry brush, and then a light dry brush to give it that weathered look. Through the magic of time lapse, we're almost done with the real brown. Then we're going to move ahead to the khaki for kind of a heavy dry brush, leaving the real brown and the black recesses exposed to give it depth and interest. Oh, this is my favorite part of the music. Hold on. You can really feel the power of the piano right there. Before, after, before, after, before. And we're definitely going to use those different colors. I also saw that from Jeremy at Blackmagic Craft. I got a lot of stuff from him. I give him a ton of credit. He's a great artist with these terrain building and diorama building and all the stuff that he does. I get a lot of my ideas from him, and I give him mad props. Check him out at Blackmagic Craft on YouTube. This is one from his, I believe it's from his Hag's Hut, when he used the different earthy tones to color the rocks, because we all know rocks are different color in nature. So I did a bunch of different earthy tones to make the foundation look a little more realistic. So for a few minutes here, we're going to be putting some different colored paint on some of the quote-unquote rocks. There's a whole bunch of different colors, orange, and there you go, thanks to Jeremy at Blackmagic Craft. And now we got honeycomb for the final dry brush on the boards of the roof. This is a light dry brush with a makeup brush that I stole from my wife. Or not. It's just my regular dry brush. Paintbrush. There, now I won't get in trouble because I didn't steal anything, dear. See, just a quick light dry brush to get the before, after, before. Just a quick dry brush to get the highlights out so that the roof looks weathered and not brand new. It could be brand new. Obviously the house was brand new at one point, but was the wood? We'll never know. Oh snap. Okay, so here's a quick dry brush with a white. That is definitely my wife's makeup brush. So maybe I did borrow something from her to get this final, maybe not final, but to get this step done. Working on the support structure for the door, the beams that are going to hold the door in place. A little bit of fast, quick grab glue, some pre-stained 4x4, so to speak. Set those in place, let the glue do its job. Clean off some of the excess glue, make sure everything's level. Everybody in their place, in their line. Alright, here's stucco technique number 2. This is from Marklinofsweden. I found him on YouTube one day when I was just kind of surfing, if you call that, if you could call YouTube surfing. He did this with some water that he was doing on a big display. I think it was a train set. But you soak the surface with some liquid, whatever you're using. I used some Mod Podge, some acrylic paint, a little bit of water. I laid the bathroom tissue on top of it to make sure that it gets all soaked in, and then start stippling and pushing and making sure that the seams and any pattern that might have been in the toilet paper, it disappears. And when it's done, it turns out to look just like some stucco. I had no clue with what to do to the top junction of the two roofs, so I thought, well, crud, I'll just put a beam up there and glue that into place, call it a day. So I did the same thing to the little tavern, but on this one I took my X-Acto knife and cut a little groove out of it so it looks like an L or a V, and then laid that on top, and I glue and stain that off camera. And here's a beam to cover the junction of the stucco and the roof beams, keep the water out as well. That one's looking pretty good. No windows in this one, but maybe it's a hermit. Maybe it's a recluse. I don't know. Maybe a hermit and a recluse are the same thing. So now I'm going to do some negative space reconstruction by putting some of the pre-stained beams on. Here I'm using a black wash to do the weathering of the roof. Black paint, water, some rinse aid from the dishwasher, and then I also did the foundation, and I'm also going to do the stucco here just to give it a dirty look. It'll settle into the nooks and crannies, and it'll make it look like it's been outside, which it has been supposedly, and that way it doesn't look so pristine. But be generous with the amount that you use. If you use too much, just use a tissue paper or something and soak it back up and start again. Here's a quick dry brush to highlight the high parts. So the black wash does the low parts, the dry brush does the high parts, and the whole thing pops and stands out. And it looks more realistic than if you skip some of these steps, which I would not recommend. This one shingle gave me a hard time. Here I decided that the weathering wasn't enough, the stucco was still too bright, so I did a second application of the black wash. This is a sign that I'm going to put on the little signpost that we made with the 45-degree angle. Just a piece of balsa wood that I cut. I'm going to paint it red. I believe I left it blank, so you can put like anything you want. You can put a crest on it, you can put a dancing horse, you can put a dragon's head. You can put anything on there you want to fit your campaign. But I painted this up nice and red, and I attached it off camera using some pieces of snipped off paper clip. Be careful you don't stab yourself. Not that I did, but you definitely don't want to stab yourself. See, there's the sign hanging there. And then one final dry brush of a white. I'm not sure if I liked this when I was done or not, because when I was rewatching the video, it wasn't my favorite part. So I'll think twice when I do the next set of buildings, when I do the final dry brush with the white. But here we're coming to the end of these two buildings and to the end of this video. So thanks for watching. Keep your eyes peeled for number 5. We're almost done with this series. We only got 2 buildings to go. I'm going to try and squish those into one video. So keep your eyes peeled. Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe, like, share, and all that good stuff. And as always, check out silverdragoncrafts.com on the internet, and there's some stuff on there that might spark some good conversations.